everybody. Welcome back to another edition of our 7-year anniversary videos and interviews. And today I am extremely excited to introduce you to my favorite photographer. We've not only worked together as me being her client, her working with me, but we've managed to create a collaboration. We've done several projects together. We've become great friends, and I'm super happy that she's here to tell us about what she does, and I can't wait for you all to meet her. So with you, Victoria Garcia.
Hi, Valentina. Happy birthday, Bunker 58.
Thank you, thank you. Part of our celebration is showcasing our favorite people and people that we worked with, and you are a very, very important part of our family, and I can't wait for people to get to meet you. So please share with us, who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Well, hi guys. Nice to meet everybody. My name is Victoria Garcia. I'm a personal branding photographer here in Houston, and I work with women who want to show up authentically online as their real selves and promote and market their business while looking beautiful at the same time. And so I love working with women who are building their brands and who are trying to incorporate all of the amazing parts of their brand into their brand identity and into their imagery, which is why I think, me and Valentina work so well together, is because we're kind of like two sides of the same coin when it comes to building a strong brand and putting that brand online so that people can find you.
So how did you come to work in photography, and not even photography, but in brand photography specifically?
It kind of happened by accident. When I first started my professional career, I've been a photographer for over 20 years and, kind of dabbled in a bunch of different things, not really sure what was the right fit for me. And so I got hooked up with another organization. I know somebody in Houston, and started working with them as a creative director on the board. And while I was working with them, I was networking a lot. I was going to all of these events that we were hosting and meeting amazing businesswomen. And so I was getting all of these leads for my photography, but it was for headshots. And at the time I was doing glamour photography. So I was doing luxury portraits that were meant to be heirlooms and printed and, put on the wall. And I was struggling. I was just coming out of a divorce. And so I was very disconnected from the idea of like owning your worth and all of these things. So it was hard for me, but I was meeting these women who were, wanting to show up beautifully online for their businesses, and they needed something to do that. They were asking for headshots, but when we would chat, it was more like, I want, pictures at a coffee shop, and I want behind the scenes of me working. And I realized that there wasn't really at the time a language for the kind of photography they were looking for. And so I just started to kind of create that myself. I didn't come up with personal branding photography. There were a few other photographers like sprinkled around the states that were already doing it, but I found them and found the genre and everything, it just kind of went from there. I shifted 100% into personal branding photography and headshots, and yeah, the rest is history.
So you have a very specific look, and I know a lot of people know you from your, I would almost say, signature desk scenes. Like every time we take a look at what you do, I think that's a big part of it. But lately I've been seeing a shift and seeing, also women maybe take a little more risk and do more lifestyle type things. So what's your favorite?
Oh, my favorite definitely changes. I'm really into portraiture right now, and so anything in the studio, that's something that I've always loved, even from the very beginning. And it wasn't something that I was doing a lot of in the beginning of my service, but I have a studio now here in Houston. It's in the Heights at Sawyer Yards, and I love it.
Gorgeous.
So now that I have a studio, that allows me to play a little bit more in that space. But to go back to the desk scene, that was kind of one of those things that I just had to create for my clients. I was getting clients and not all of them had desks to shoot at or office space in their home. We were going around town and like going to coffee shops and like on location stuff. But I was like, how do I do this? How do I create this look of like commercial office, something for their website. And so I kind of created it. I went to IKEA and I bought a white desk and I bought white props and I painted my front room white, and I just made like this really beautiful, bright and airy space where it was basically like a blank canvas where my clients could come in with all of their props and their brand colors and all of the things that they wanted and make it their own. I have sort of shifted away from that a little bit, only because it has become very popular and I'm the kind of person like, okay, what's next? Like,
Yes. Uniqueness is I think one of your traits.
yeah, but I still love doing that. Those are still part of my sessions. It's just not something that I show a whole lot of, because in the business we say show what you want to sell, and I
Yeah.
really love literature, so I want my clients to also want that as well.
So the first time I worked with you, I remember I did like a mini session, and I always tell this story, but because it's so powerful, before I took photos with Victoria, I think my last photo shoot before that was a complete disaster. Like I cried, I felt ugly. It was like I left the thing and I cried all the way home. Like it was horrific. Horrific. So then when I met Victoria and I did, like, I was super scared because I had PTSD from the previous photo shoot. So I was like, okay, how is this gonna work? And I hadn't met her in person, so I was like going in blind because I saw your portfolio and I loved it. And I'm like, I'm doing this. And the best thing happened because I remember it was supposed to be like a 30-minute thing, and we ended up chatting and like talking, and I felt so comfortable and I saw myself in a way that I don't think I had seen myself before. And it was just a complete different experience. So do you get a lot of women that don't really know sort of how amazing they are until you get to capture that?
I think they all know. We're just not really given permission to say that we're amazing or to feel amazing or to be amazing in a lot of ways. I think women are taught from a very early age to kind of like tone themselves down and downplay the things that are really awesome about themselves. So really it's just a process of kind of like honing in on that in the session and then pulling that out. It doesn't take very long. A lot of my clients are very nervous when they come in. They don't know how to pose. They're really unsure of how they're going to look on camera. We don't like having photos taken of ourselves. I say we because I feel the exact same way. And that has a lot to do with the person on the other side of the camera, right? Not everybody knows how to pose you so that you look your best. And so we have this idea of what we look like in a photo. And if you really distill that, it's like, okay, here is a single image of you in a freeze frame for you to go in and dissect every little part of yourself that you dislike. So it is hard. But for me, it's, moving my clients through these different body movements and shapes to accentuate their assets, basically.
Yeah.
And the best part, because women are all shaped differently, and knowing how to pose them for their body type and make them feel comfortable, and then showing them what they look like on the back of the camera as well, and giving them the collaborative process to see what's coming out of the shoot and say, oh, I love that, let's do more of that, or I like that pose but I'm not really sure about that facial expression, I feel like it's a little harsh, let's try that again. And so, for me, having that experience, once the first like 30-45 minutes of the shoot are out of the way and my clients are comfortable with the process, then I don't even need to pose them anymore. Then it's just like, yes, keep doing that. So it's
Yeah.
all fun to see that transformation, because most of my clients, 99%, will come in very, very insecure about what is going to happen. They see photos of other women who look beautiful, and they know that they can do that too, but then it's like a trust, right? Like, do they trust that I can do that for them as well? So it just takes a little bit of time.
It does. And I mean, I think, well, everybody has a superpower, but or more than one superpower. But I think in your case, I would say one is making people feel super comfortable, and there's a connection that you have, even though you're behind a camera, but I don't know how to explain it. You guys are going to have to try it out and see it for yourselves. But it's one, I think that's one of your biggest things is that connection that you generate and that sense of making the other feel as amazing as they should be. And then I would say the other superpower is you have a connection to understanding how branding works that is very rare with people that don't do that for a living. Like I hang out with a lot of people that do what I do, like strategy, branding, marketing. So we're supposed to know that, but it's rare to find, somebody that does something else, especially in photography, that also understands that strategic component of telling a story or telling a brand story through photos.
Right.
And I'm guessing is like how do you develop that? Because I know that's a big part and a big differentiator that you have that other photographers don't.
I think it comes down to the way that I think and the way that I see things. A lot of photographers are very technical people because photography is an art, but it's also a science. You have to know, how to do the lighting and set your camera settings and all of these other things that make it a very technical skill. And that was always the hardest part of photography for me. And it took me the longest to learn was all of those little technical details. For me, it's more of an intuition when it comes to how to tell a story or how to bring something out. And that goes back to like abstract thinking and conceptual thinking. When I hear a person, so with my clients, I'll give them a, questionnaire that kind of asks them a bunch of questions that gives me an idea of what their brand is, who they are as a person, how they want to be seen. And then it's my job to take all of those little pieces and create a photo shoot, to create the location or set the scene. And so I think that's part of that branding element is like really digging into who that person is and what their brand is about in order to create the shoot for them. Because, what I like to say is personal branding is a commercial photography and every client is different. And even though I have a style to my photography, I want my clients to know that their brand is going to be represented in their images. So I spent a lot of time learning how to do that and how to bring their brand to life. And I just love that side of it. I love the idea that you can take all of these very kind of abstract ideas and bring them to life, which is what I love about what you do. And anybody who's a more logical thinker, very analytical, not on so much on the creative side, I think that they struggle with that because it just takes a different, like from point A to point B isn't a straight line.
Right.
And so you're kind of like bringing all of these different things together and like finding the things that fit. And I love that. That's my favorite part.
And I think that's why we work so well together, because Victoria has been the photographer for several of our clients. And it's awesome because I don't have to do a lot of explaining. Like I'll just tell her, look, this is the brand story. These are the colors. This is the brand book. Like this is what we're going for. And she immediately gets it and it just happens. And then the images that we get back are super on point and perfect. And I don't have to even do anything. And I think it's that point where both of us connect on the strategy side and understanding more big picture thinking when we're developing brands that get us the results that we've had. I mean, the clients that we've shared, I love their images. Like they're just amazing, and you totally get it. And it's easy to work with you on that end.
Yeah, same here. I think we work really well together and we're able to bring a lot out of what a client is looking for, which I love because it's kind of like, the whole package for a client. They don't have to go and find, all of these other pieces. But I always recommend that any photographer that is looking to do personal branding photography, find a brand strategist or web designer that they can form a relationship with and have that. Because for me, my best clients come to me at the point in which they've already developed their brand with a brand strategist and they're building their website and they need the images. And so then everything just fits together seamlessly because you've already done all of the work to build that brand. And now you're just needing to like fill in the spaces with the photos. So that's my favorite part.
Yeah, and tell the story, which is, a big part of it is telling it through images, especially now where everything is visual
Yeah.
and that we're doing all those things. But I know, and now that you mentioned it, and I love that you brought that up, that you do mentor other photographers that want to learn how to do brand photography the right way. So would you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I will. It's a little scary for me. This is a new venture that I'm moving into. I see the need for it, really. I mean, it's really as simple as that. I've been doing it for a while now, and I feel like because when I started, I didn't have a lot of people to look to. There were three, maybe three solid personal branding photographers that I could find in the United States. And they were they were all doing other things as well. So their primary field was in another genre, and they were doing personal branding on the side. And there really wasn't the desk scene at that time yet. So I kind of created that. And as a new business owner, when you're just starting, you have these ideas, the first thing you do is look to other people who've come before you. And you try and figure out and reverse engineer, what did they do and how did they do it? And can I ask them and will they respond? And I reached out to one woman who wasn't actually a personal branding photographer at the time, but she was doing this kind of like as a side gig from her other stuff. And I thought, well, I'll just ask her. And she never responded.
Oh my
You
God.
um, and so my business model was really, I mean, it came from my experience, everything that I had learned from other genres and everything that I felt like I could create myself. And now here we are, several years later, and personal branding photography is a thing. Like, it's big. A lot of photographers are really looking to transition into this as a career, and there's still a lot of room for education in this space. There are people who are doing it. Some people have their Facebook groups, and some people have, one-on-one mentoring or courses and things like that. And so for me, jumping into the education space, it's not so far off from what I feel like I already do, but it's a big step for me, because it's basically saying, I've done this and this is what I've learned, and here, let me teach you what I know, so that you don't have to reverse engineer anything. You can just hit the ground running and start to be successful today.
And I think, not only doing it because you didn't have that person when you needed it, but also because not every artist has a business brain.
Yes, right, exactly.
So we could be great at our craft and still not be able to run a business successfully. So there's also that component that we have to learn. And I'm not a photographer, but I say we as an entrepreneur because I didn't know how to do a profit and loss statement before I started my own business. And now I do. So those are types of things, like how to approach clients, and part of the process that you living it every day and having been here, done that. I think it's a very powerful space when you can teach these photographers not only the craft side of it, but also the business side of it, which takes a lot of mental power to figure out.
A lot of what I'm teaching isn't the photography side, although that's a big component. I think that there's so much photography education out there. I mean, I definitely send people to my mentors and the people who I learned from. But photography as an art is one of those things that you just continue to develop, and you never know what you're going to be interested in. A lot of photographers will say, "Oh, how do I find my style?" It's a process. You have to go through it. But if you want to be a successful photographer, if you want to make a career out of your art, whatever your style is, you have to know how to run a business. You have to know how to have a business plan and what the foundations are, and how to have a client relationship. And those are the kinds of things that I want to teach my mentees and my students, because they're going to be photographers. Anybody who's picked up a camera and decided they want to be a photographer, that's what they are. And so that's what they're going to spend a lot of time learning without having anybody there to guide them, right? Because it's just in you. You have to. You're going to, but the business side, I think, is the part that a lot of people shy away from, because it seems so other, especially when you're an artist.
Yeah.
Because this is very like, it's a process. There's a start and there's a finish. And my philosophy is that if you know how to run a business, you can run any business. So when I started, that was the first thing I started with, because I knew that my photography at that time didn't have a lot of the skills. I didn't know how to do all of the lighting, but I wanted to make money and I wanted to have a career. I wanted to quit my 9 to 5 job and do this full time. And I wasn't going to be able to do that if I didn't know how to send an invoice or, have a business license or, things like that. So those are the things I really want to teach my students. It's more of the business model of personal branding photography, not so much like this is your camera setting and this is your lighting. There's a little bit of that in there, but by and large, I mean, that's out there. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of information
Yeah.
out.
And I think that's a lot of people already teach that. Like you said, it's already there. But I think the business development side of it is not. And I think that's where all your expertise, becomes super valuable. Because the eye, you can't, I mean, the eye, either you have it or you don't, like, but that, I think also that love that you have for building a business, I think that also comes through. And it's funny because you love business and then you work with business owners. So I think it all comes full circle when you not only help them do their business, but also develop their own brands, which I think it's great.
That was all accidental. I didn't know that this was, was in me. I never considered when I picked up a camera that I would be a business owner. It just never dawned on me. It was always, I'm going to be an artist and I'm going to, a starving artist, even if that was, my destiny, that's what it was going to be. But I realize now how much business has been a part of my life. I used to go with my grandma. She used to have her own little store at the flea market, and I would spend all day with her there, buying and selling her little things. And then in the apartment complex we lived in when I was in junior high, there was a woman, her name was Vicky, actually. She lived across from us and she had a little store. You can knock on her gate and she had pickles and chips and sodas, and for like 25 cents you could buy something. Well, she moved and there was a gap in the market. This is 12 years old, okay? And I'm like, Mom, we need to buy sodas and we need to buy candy and chips because all of my friends don't have anywhere to go for their snacks. And if I'm selling them, then they can come to me. Well, we ate all of our product. We didn't sell it. We ate it all. But I feel like that was always kind of there. So now that I'm older, I would say, and this is hard for me to, I'm a photographer. I'll be a photographer till I die, but I'm also a businesswoman, and I didn't know that about myself until I built my business. And so whichever direction life takes me, both will always be a part of my life, I think.
And you're amazing at both. So you're good. You'll be, I mean, yes, I think it's part of what you're supposed to be doing.
If I can avoid eating my profits, I think I'll be okay.
Girl, tell me about it. Thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing a little bit of what you do. And, our time working together, we've done so many things. We've started so many adventures. And I'm so happy and honored to not just call you my client or my partner, but also my friend, which is the most important role of them all for me.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Thank you for sharing this. And people, branding photos, this is the girl to go. And mentoring for aspiring photographers that want to start a business. So all the things. Thank you again, Victoria. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.